Hello there, and welcome to another edition of Super Kick Mania Pro Wrestling Podcast. My name is David Stansky, and welcome to this show. So, on today's episode, we're going to be talking about WrestleMania in the year 2020, and what an unpredictable year this has been, and what an unpredictable WrestleMania this is going to be. And it's amazing. The thing which has to be acknowledged, just because it's the time period we live in, if anyone was to listen to this into the distant future, to ignore the context of what's going on in the world would be ridiculous. The coronavirus, COVID-19, is affecting everyone in every country of the world where there's being restrictions, lockdowns, and all kinds of things happening. And the WWE isn't immune to it. It seems very strange that even, I think, 3 weeks ago, maybe even 2 weeks ago, the WWE was still saying WrestleMania is going to take place in Tampa, Florida, in the 70,000 seater arena. And now that just seems like such an ancient and distant memory, when they then had to announce that, okay, we're going to do it without an audience, because they had to start doing Raw and SmackDown with no audience, and NXT with no audience, and all the Elite Wrestling had to start doing their Dynamite shows without an audience. And then there's been reports over the last week, over the last few days, that certain wrestlers aren't going to be at the show. We saw that Paige, who doesn't wrestle anymore, was going to be somewhat involved in SmackDown to then make a match or announce a match or be in someone's corner for a women's championship match, and then she wasn't there, and the next week she was just on a video call or just like a promo on the Titantron, and that was the first sign that, oh, someone's pulling out. And then as of today, if rumours are to be believed, and who knows, maybe there's some rumours and it's just some smoke being blown like a smoke screen, but it's as confirmed as I think it can be that Roman Reigns will not be wrestling Goldberg in the main event, or one of the main events. And so that is a main event of WrestleMania affected, because of course Roman Reigns last year at WrestleMania, or maybe returned just before it, had a triumphant return. Oh God, you can hear my watch in the background just letting me know what time it is. But anyway, we're going to ignore that, I do apologise. But Roman Reigns came back from having leukemia. He's got leukemia, and he's had like a second bout of it, and he had to relinquish the WWE Championship, and or was it the Universal Championship? I think it was the Universal Championship, just before the Saudi Arabia show in 2018, and then Brock Lesnar won it out there, I think against Braun Strowman. And then the story's moved on. Seth Rollins won the Royal Rumble in 2019 and went on against Brock Lesnar, won the championship, and to much of everyone's surprise, Roman Reigns came back earlier than what people were expecting, and for a year he was kept out of the title picture. Maybe they wanted to make sure he was okay and didn't want to put him into any major championship storylines, but finally he was put into the world title picture, or the Universal Championship picture, against Bill Goldberg, after the controversy once again bringing the Saudi Arabia show where Goldberg defeated The Fiend just because Goldberg had done good in the ratings, and they got the idea that spear versus spear, Bill Goldberg versus Roman Reigns, would be a great main event, a dream match as it were. And I was so in favour of this. I'm so pleased that Bill Goldberg became the world champion again, the Universal Champion, which strangely is a world championship, but you know what I mean. And he would be going against Roman Reigns. I thought that's an exciting prospect for a match. Everyone pretty much knew that Goldberg was going to lose the championship, pass the torch as it were. But that has not come to be because of the coronavirus, and Roman Reigns with his immunodeficiency, or whatever the word is, his poor immune system because of his leukemia. He's had to say he's not doing it. The rumours are that his cousins, the Usos, were angry, and they may have stepped in or possibly stepped over a line to say no, he's not doing it, and Roman Reigns elected himself not to do it. But that is not all, because apparently rumour would have it that Daniel Bryan may not be doing the show. The Miz won't be doing the show. It would seem that the Miz and Morrison are the World Tag Team Champions, or the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, whichever brand they're on. And Morrison, who's just come back, is going to be defending the titles on his own against both the Usos and against the New Day. So it's interesting. It's interesting that they would do this. Let's see if I can get a full list of the matches. I don't know that I actually can. So here it says Bryan to challenge Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental Championship. That's rumoured not to be happening. The stage is set for a SmackDown Tag Team Triple Threat ladder match. It still shows The Miz on it. That supposedly isn't going to be happening. I don't know if I can just get a rundown of the matches on the WWE, not network, WWE website. Let's just see if I go to a different wrestling website, if I can get something which gives all of the matches. Because obviously there's the World Heavyweight Championship match, which is Brock Lesnar. And, okay, I know how I'll find it. WrestleMania. And then Wikipedia. So if you ever can't find out like something, Wikipedia will actually have you sorted, as it were. So Wikipedia is actually giving me the information that the WWE.com website does not easily give. So what does that tell you? There's 14 matches listed, and we'll run through them. I'll give you my predictions of who's going to win, and then just address a little bit of who's going to be there, who's not going to be there, what surprises we can expect. And so we'll start at the bottom of the card and work our way up to the top. At the bottom of the card, well, as I mentioned earlier, Sami Zayn, Intercontinental Champion, versus Daniel Bryan. The rumour is Daniel Bryan will not be there. And if this match goes ahead, I should imagine that Sami Zayn is going to win. He's only just got the title. Even though it would be great for Daniel Bryan to win, I'm always on Daniel Bryan's side to win. I think there's been some juggling about with Braun Strowman or whatever. So he was out of the Intercontinental title picture. And so I don't think they're going to give it to Bryan. I think they'll keep Sami Zayn and his faction with Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro going for a little while longer at least. And they'll be very directionless if Zayn was to lose the title. So my bet is on Sami Zayn. Then we've got Edge versus Randy Orton, last man standing match. Now, from everything they've done on television, this should be the main event. And what a crying shame, in a sense, that Edge is coming back just to wrestle in front of no one. Because this is the biggest example of why they should have just postponed the show. Just postpone WrestleMania. So imagine that. There's been the coronavirus, everything's shutting down, and the WWE says, do you know what, we're going to put things on pause, but the first day we're back is going to be WrestleMania. And then you could show the wrestlers training, you could build stuff up, hype stuff up. You know, even though there would be the element of some fans might feel like, I'm so over it now because it hasn't happened, there would be the sense that, imagine the reaction when they sing the American National Anthem at the start of WrestleMania, as they do every year. When the people come out, there's like, well, we're back, we're a community, we're going to defiantly, well, not even defiantly, but we're going to unite against, you know, the bad that's happened in the world with this virus. And we're going to celebrate by having this big wrestling event, WrestleMania. That's what they should have done. Because then when Edge came out in front of the audience, people would be like, he's coming back and this would be this amazing story. But it's not going to be quite that in front of no one, and it's not going to be that once everyone's seen him wrestle again. And then they weren't there for it. Elias versus King Corbin. So Edge is obviously going to beat Randy Orton, by the way. Orton has been doing the best he's done in a long time. His stuff with Matt Hardy was great. And his stuff with Edge was great. Beth Phoenix too. But, okay, Elias versus King Corbin. I don't even care about this match. Elias is just the same gimmick that he was when I first saw him. Like, is it 3 years ago now? He comes out, he sings a song, people interrupt him, he attacks someone, he sings some funny lyrics, that's it. King Corbin kind of sucks. They only seem to do the King of the Ring every couple of years now, which is such a shame. I really loved the King of the Ring pay-per-view when it was a thing, like a yearly thing. Bret Hart, Owen Hart. Let's see if I can name all of the King of the Rings. So I think Bret Hart actually won it twice, but before that, I think we had Ted DiBiase maybe once or twice even, and then of course there was Hacksaw Jim Duggan, King Haku, Harley Race. There may have been another King, but the proper tournament King of the Rings pay-per-views, like I said, Bret Hart may have won it and then they made it a pay-per-view the next year, where Bret Hart won it in 1993, followed by Owen Hart in 1994. In 1995 was King Mabel. In 1996 was Stone Cold Steve Austin, where he said his famous Austin 316 promo. 1997 was Hunter Hearst Helmsley. 1998, I think, was Ken Shamrock. 1999 was Billy Gunn. The year 2000 was Kurt Angle. And the year 2001 was Brock Lesnar. And that was the last time they did it for many years. And that was the last time they did it as a pay-per-view. Which was a real shame. They should bring it back just as a proper pay-per-view or just as a special on the WWE network. Don't know why they don't. But then we had King William Regal, King Booker, King Barrett, and there might be another one in there that I've forgotten. Did Sheamus win it? I feel like he might have done. They seem to give it to people from over this side of the pond. But anyway, now I've had my King of the Ring segue. Let's have a look. Aleister Black versus Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley is another one who said like, no, I'm not doing WrestleMania, I'm skipping out on it. Good for him, and that might even be for sensible reasons, that he'd been abroad, is what I heard. But Aleister Black was the other one, other than Drew McIntyre, rumoured to be winning the Royal Rumble, and so how gutted is he that he's now just against Lashley in an unimportant match, which probably isn't even now going to happen. Unless, with, as mentioned, Roman Reigns out, maybe Aleister Black's son is like, well, I'll challenge for no reason and become world champion. So on that match, I'm going to say Aleister Black wins, which is a shame because Lashley should be a main eventer. Street Profits versus Andrade and Angel Garza. And again, I forget what I read here, but apparently one of those guys, I think Angel Garza perhaps isn't doing it. Or maybe it's Andrade isn't doing it and they've got someone else. So I'm going to say Street Profits retain the tag team titles. Miz and Morrison, like I said, Miz won't be doing it, versus New Day versus the Usos. I'm going to say that the New Day will win here. Or maybe the Usos will win just because Roman Reigns is out, so they're going to keep a family connection like that. So I'm going to say the Usos. Kevin Owens versus Seth. I think Kevin Owens is going to win. He's had his bad luck with WrestleManias, where it's a couple of times he's going to be in the world title match, and then it just didn't happen. So maybe he'll get into the world title. It's like a Who Shot Mr. Burns, Who Shot JR sort of situation. And that's from the old Dallas American soap opera, in case you're wondering if I'm saying Who Shot Jim Ross. Jim Ross has not been shot, don't worry. Undertaker has to beat AJ Styles, and that's going to be in a Boneyard match, which is basically a Buried Alive match. But Undertaker has to win. If AJ Styles beats Undertaker at this stage, so what? Especially not in front of an audience. And if Undertaker beats AJ Styles, then yeah, people accept that. But Undertaker probably is at about the end of his career. But I'm sure he won't end it quite yet, just because no one wants to end their career in an empty arena match. Then we've got Bayley, who's the champ, against Lacey Evans versus Naomi versus Sasha Banks versus Tamina. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they do have it listed as a 5-way, because I think Mandy Rose was going to be in a 6-pack challenge as announced by Paige, and then it's not happening. Now, poor Tamina is just like, she's just in this match. She's never used someone important. Sasha and Bayley, that's going to be interesting. Now, it's a fatal 5-way elimination match, so let's work out the order of elimination. So I think Tamina will be eliminated first. Could have been Mandy Rose if she was in it, but I think it'll be Tamina eliminated first. Then it'll be Naomi. Then it will be Sasha because of Bayley, and then maybe Bayley because of Sasha, and Lacey wins. That's fairly obvious, straightforward way for them to do it, but you know, that will do. So let's say that Lacey Evans wins. John Cena versus The Fiend. I think The Fiend is going to win, and it's going to be a Firefly Funhouse match. That is a tongue twister. Don't know if I've ever had to actually say that particularly out loud before. Firefly Funhouse match. So I think The Fiend will win because it's going to be by his rules, probably on the stupid set. There's this idea that there's a Boneyard match going to take place in a real graveyard. A Firefly Funhouse match, many times I'm making myself say that, will take place probably on the set where they filmed the Firefly Funhouse. Gosh, that gets so hard to say after a while. And so The Fiend has to win. Cena isn't going to be sticking around, so it's got to be The Fiend. Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler. So Becky's been the champion for a year, and they probably want to change things up, so I'm going to lean towards Shayna Baszler, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if they kept it on Becky, just because, again, there's no audience there, so it'll be interesting to see how many title changes they do. Goldberg versus Roman Reigns, as it's still listed. And so the rumour is that it's now going to be Braun Strowman, who actually, when I've looked over the card, he isn't mentioned elsewhere. So if it's Goldberg versus Roman Reigns, then Roman Reigns will win. But unless it's a huge swerve, it won't be Roman Reigns. So if it's Braun Strowman, then Strowman should win, just because they don't want to keep it on Goldberg. They could always have Goldberg say, look, I just want to wrestle Roman Reigns because everyone wanted to see that match, and I need to know if you're like the new man, you know, because you do the spear or whatever. And then they can have that match later down the line without the championship on the line. Goldberg could turn heel, just because people sometimes boo Goldberg, but they shouldn't ever turn Goldberg heel. It didn't work in WCW 20 years ago, and why would they want to do it now? Okay, next up we've got, and so whoever Goldberg goes against, I think he loses unless, I say that, if they put him against Dolph Ziggler again, then Goldberg should win. If they actually went down the route of Goldberg versus Matt Riddle, now Matt Riddle could win, but it would devalue Goldberg, just because it'd be like, see, Matt Riddle was right, he beat Goldberg in front of no one. But it could be fun if they had a match and then later they could have a rematch, a return match, if Goldberg won this first one. But even then, the psychology of it isn't quite right, because if it's like Goldberg's like, yeah, I do respect you, but it's like, you know, you put up a hell of a fight, but I beat you anyway. The logic of it is Matt Riddle would have to be, wow, Goldberg, you know, actually, I do respect you. I was wrong to say that, you know, you sucked or whatever, because you showed me something. And it would just seem like he's some punk kid. And he was like, well, yeah, you said that Goldberg was no good, and he showed you he was because he's Goldberg. And who the hell are you anyway? It wouldn't make Matt Riddle. But it'd be nice just for that behind-the-scenes aspect to come to life. But anyway. Then we've got Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair for the NXT Women's Championship. And I'm going to lean on Charlotte winning it, just because Rhea Ripley defeating Charlotte makes Charlotte, after winning the Royal Rumble, look stupid, because even though like Asuka won the Royal Rumble, first ever women's Royal Rumble winner, and then she didn't go on to win the championship at WrestleMania, I think it would make Charlotte look an idiot for losing to someone who's already seen as lesser than her, because she's from NXT. And so I'm going to say that Charlotte wins. but then it gives a huge, big, positive push and rub to Rhea for being in that match. Brock Lesnar versus Drew McIntyre. Has to be McIntyre winning it. The only chance that McIntyre doesn't win is simply just because Brock losing in front of no crowd is a bit of a shame. But if the other thing I haven't mentioned is, like, I was going to say that they don't want to end this show just on, oh, Brock won again, and it was drab as you're watching at home. So I think that Drew has to win, unless the thing I was getting to. Sorry, I'm quite tired right now. The thing I was getting to is that actually they're splitting WrestleMania across 2 nights, and I don't know how they're splitting it. Obviously, there's going to be the Goldberg Roman Reigns replacement match on the end of one show, and Brock Lesnar Drew McIntyre match on the end of the other. Now, obviously, I might be wrong about that, and they could have Randy Orton versus Edge main event one of the 2 nights, but they have 2 nights, which are effectively 2 shows, which then means that there can be 2 separate main events. So it can have whatever match leading up to Universal Championship, and then whatever matches leading up to the World Championship. I think if I have to place a bet, that between the 2, they're going to go Brock Drew as the final match, just because Goldberg versus a surprise opponent is going to seem a bit weak at this stage for the main event of WrestleMania, when they already have. See, if they didn't have Hulk Hogan versus Sergeant Slaughter, and it was just suddenly Sergeant Slaughter versus, well, they could have put the Warrior back in there, but if they'd put, or Macho Man, they could have put someone else in there as a replacement, and it felt like, yeah, they put another main eventer in there, but it wasn't the match that we had been building up to and been expecting. Then it would have been it would have been quite a knock on that year's WrestleMania. But on a time like nowadays, where you've got 2 world championships, and one of them has got Brock Lesnar against the guy that threw him out of the Royal Rumble and then went on to win it, it's obvious that should be a main event anyway. But if it wasn't for the coronavirus situation, I would have been happy to see Goldberg Reigns as the last match. Although I was worried because Goldberg can be hit and miss. His matches are so short. I did a podcast on Goldberg recently, and I basically ran through a load of moves that I think Goldberg can do without it being an issue because of his age, because of him having to lift people and gas himself up too soon. But listen to that yourselves, and then you'll see that Goldberg could have a convincing longer match if they ran it that way. So yeah, this has been my preview of all things WrestleMania. I'll do some more podcasts of this throughout the week. I just want to give a little bit of a mention about everything that's going on. So this is part of the Extreme Improv podcast network, so as well as listening to this on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, Spreaker, or wherever you're listening to this, you can of course listen to the video version of this, which you can't see me, but it is technically a video on our YouTube channel, which just go to www.youtube.com/extreme improv. You can find links to all of our podcasts from our website, www.extremeimprov.co.uk, and we have several different podcasts. So, as well as the Superkick Mania Pro Wrestling podcast, all on the theme of pro wrestling, we have the Games Monster podcast, which is on the theme of video games, as well as the Mega Movie podcast, which is a movie podcast, surprisingly enough, from that title. And then, of course, we have the Extreme Improv Podcast Radio Rumble, Extreme Improv Podcast Chat Show, and Extreme Improv Podcast Skill Show. Now, at the moment, everything's been a little bit irregular because of the coronavirus throwing work and situations into chaos. But there have been some other things coming out of Extreme Improv I'll just give a very quick plug to. We normally have a travel vlog series called Jet Lagged and Loving It, and at the moment we have an isolation travel vlog series. Well, it's not travel, that's the whole point. It's an isolation vlog series called Locked In and Loving It, and that's on Facebook and the YouTube channel, which is Extreme Improv. So facebook.com/Extreme Improv or youtube.com/Extreme Improv. and look up Locked In and Loving It. We also have streamed shows, which are improv comedy shows, sort of like Whose Lines It Anyway, but streamed over the internet, called Extreme Improv Extremed. And it's an interactive show, so regardless of whether or not you go onto Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, or whatever platform, Mixer, you can go on to whatever the name of the website is, /extreme improv, so like twitter.com/extreme improv, facebook.com/extreme improv, etc., and you will be able to give us suggestions by using the built-in chat. So it doesn't matter which platform you're on, you can give a suggestion to our performers, and then we'll make up a scene based on it. Anyway, I've rattled on enough about plugging other things. I'm very excited for WrestleMania, and tomorrow or the next day we're going to do some more shows, and within the next week hopefully we'll do a streaming show version of the Superkick Mania Pro Wrestling podcast, where we'll be able to have some guest speakers as well, just to bash some ideas back and forth, to talk about what's happening in the world of wrestling, all things All Elite Wrestling, WWE, Ring of Honor, NWA Power, so on and so forth. And so until next time, this has been wonderful. Thank you very much. My name is David Bostansky, and goodbye, Ziz.